Hi, everybody. Welcome to the July Roundtable. It's hard to believe, Peter. It's been half a year already.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We've got a great guest with me as usual. It's Peter Cooper, founder and CEO of Ascend Consulting. Thanks for joining me. Mm-hmm. And Bobby, we'll introduce you here in a second. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get started, a couple things. As normal, we'll give you the disclaimer. We're going to share a lot of great info, have a great discussion about ways that we see shops running and some tips and tricks. As usual, though, consult your own advisors. Make sure you're considering your own situation. But hopefully, you enjoy the conversation that we have today. Last bit of housekeeping. So you'll notice I think it's on the side of your screen, we have two different ways that we'll interact today. So there is the audience chat. Think of that as conversation between audience members. I think Aaron put in there first, asking, "Hey, where's everybody from?" And a couple people are responding. But that's kind of among the audience chat. But then there's a Q&A section. So if you have questions that you want us to address, pose to Bobby or to Peter, please put them into the Q&A. We'll review those, make them public, and then answer as many of them as we're able to get through. So with that, let's get started. So like I said, Peter, thanks again for joining me. And Bobby, so Liberty Fleet Solutions. Can you, I don't want to do it in injustice and mess up the story. Can you introduce yourself, tell the group a little bit about your history and what you're doing at Liberty?
Yep, absolutely. So I know we only have an hour, so I'll try to keep it brief as necessary. Thank you guys for having me. This is an awesome opportunity. So Liberty Fleet Solutions started as Liberty Equipment in the late 80s. My dad started the company with a service truck, fixing bulldozers. He loved Caterpillar equipment and construction sites, and he was fortunate to grow it fairly quickly. I tell people that my dad is a serial entrepreneur, and he tells people he's a recovering entrepreneur. He started multiple businesses along the way, and within Liberty tried many different things. We were international dealership at one point, John Deere dealership at one point, a Bobcat dealership, Agco dealership, Associate Freightliner dealership. And some of those things came and went, and we all discovered along the way what we were really good at was the service side, was fixing things, providing solutions to customers. So that was the journey of the company, kind of from 1988 through the early 2000s. I came into the picture of the company as a full-time employee in 2015 and started on this journey of transition. And we might get into more of that later, how that played out. But I worked in different roles in the company and one of my dad's other companies, just to explore and learn and work out that transition period. In 2020, I took over the company. That was a very interesting first year to run a business. Yeah. I was blessed to stumble upon Full Bay from a suggestion from an employee that had come across it somewhere. And I think it was May of 2020 we made the switch, and it really helped us take some of the antiquated systems and move us into where we needed to be with technology, tracking inventory better, tracking labor hours better, faster invoicing, integrations with QuickBooks and other pieces of the business that we needed. So Full Bay has been a huge part of our journey, huge part of our success. Let's see, what else have I missed?
General size of the
shop. General size, yes. So I think at its peak, 2008, 2009, we had the Bobcat dealerships. So actually had two locations, and the construction market really tanked. So Dad did a downsizing there. We moved back to our main location. We've got 20,000 square feet, two different buildings. You can count the bays different ways depending on what size trucks you're working on. I say we have 10 and a half bays because 10 of them you can fit, really big trucks in, and one of them's a little smaller. We've got 12 technicians, and we got the support staff to keep it running. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it to anybody. We're always looking for more technicians, more support staff. There's always a need for good people to continue that growth. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And you're running 2 shifts. Do you do mobile work as well, or is it all on site?
Correct. So we do have mobile trucks. They're not. We don't do any dedicated mobile trucks anymore. They're shared between several technicians. So that's been helpful for the 2 different shifts. We got 2 guys that work 2:30 to 11 shift, and the goal of that is to service fleet vehicles in their downtime and their off hours. And that has its own staffing challenges, but we started that just over a year ago, maybe 15 months ago. So it still feels like we're still working that out and learning how to do it. But it's been worth it.
So can you tell us, so you said you started off as an equipment company. Mm-hmm. It's a multi-generational shop.
Yeah.
What prompted that shift into working on trucks, and how did you make that shift?
So multiple things prompted it. I would say the most obvious thing we could point to is, hey, the industry around us changed. 2008, 2009 was a huge crash for our specific market area. When it comes to construction, it was a huge boom, a huge bust. So I think that motivated some of the change. The second part that's less obvious is our business has always molded around who we come alongside, who we hire. And we hired more technicians and more management that liked trucks and had connections in the trucking world. And it just started moving that direction gradually. When I took ownership, I would say we were probably 80% trucks, 20% equipment. A nuance I'll add to that, we've always focused on trucks that had lots of equipment on them. We're rarely working on straight trucks, road tractors. We're oftentimes working on crane trucks, concrete pump trucks, fire trucks, you name it. Any trucks that have all the complex systems is still what we work on. The third thing I would look at is, I think the dealerships in our area have a very strong presence. Caterpillar, John Deere. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but they're very strong. And they have figured out ways to retain their service work much better than some of the other parts of the industry, like trucks and cars. And so we found, or I found over time, that all the equipment we were working on was junk. It was black market equipment or off-brand equipment, just a Takahouchi or a JCB or an old case skid steer that nobody wanted to touch. And so a lot of the jobs we were getting just weren't good. They were frustrating. There was little support. There was hard to find parts. So it was about a year ago this month, we really made the switch, and we said we're shutting that side down. We're shutting that part down. We'll still do hydraulic hose repair, hydraulic cylinder repair, basic maintenance on equipment stuff. But if somebody calls in and says, "Hey, my switch for this auxiliary function on my boom doesn't work on my Takahouchi," I'm like, "No, we don't. We just don't do it anymore."
So that had to have been a tough shift. I mean, you made such a shift that you changed the company name, didn't you?
Yep, that's right.
And so how did you overcome that? Like, how did you overcome decades of doing something the same way? Like, what gave you the confidence to make that leap?
It took time. It was not an overnight decision. So early on in my ownership journey, we did change the logo. I felt passionate enough about the trucks to go ahead and change the logo. So that was like 5 years ago. We basically just started slowly taking equipment out. So we got the logo with the Liberty and the truck. So over time, we just started saying equipment less and less, and it felt like the right thing to do. And when the right time came, we said, yes, we're absolutely committed to this. We got to change our domain name. We got to change our website. We got to change everything that had equipment tied to it, register the DBA. And that sounds like a daunting task, but it's something that the team can come together and get excited about. And I mean, I remember the day that I changed the logo in Full Base System, and my whole team saw it, and they're like, "Oh yes, it's finally here," So maybe I waited too long. But it was a journey. It was well worth it. We have to keep changing. We have to keep moving. Don't stay stuck in the past with something that's just not working out that well anymore.
It is pretty unique to see that aspect. You don't hear a lot of store owners talk about the things that didn't work and decided to make that change.
And beyond trucks, so we were talking last night about the new lines of business that you're getting into. Can you talk a little about the firework that you're doing and how you got into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I said before, we've always worked on a lot of niche market trucks. When I say crane trucks, drywall trucks, concrete trucks, pump trucks, water trucks, all different things. I got the opportunity for several years to work on some government contract vehicles, refurbishment projects, and I got a lot of good experience with that. And I thought for a while that was something I wanted to focus on. And I saw the ups and downs of the contracts that come and go. We all experienced a lot of things about living through a COVID time period, a real shutdown, some boom and bust in different parts of the industry. So I think I was always looking for that niche market that could weather all those kinds of things. And one day, one of the local fire departments actually came to the shop. He said, "I'm struggling to find somebody to fix this truck. Can you help me?" And it's the town that I grew up in. It's the truck that services my parents' house if it catches on fire, right? So I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this, Jeff. What do we need to do? He said, "We really want shops that are certified. There's only 2 or 3 that are even certified to work on these trucks." So we did. We went to Florida. We got the F3 certification, like 4 of us. I think we have 12. I think we have 12 certifications right now. We're sending 3 more people next month. So it's definitely been an investment. That's 15 technician weeks out of the shop over the course of the last 18 months. So definitely a big commitment there. But it has checked all the boxes for me in a niche market. They're a great customer base. It's very consistent work. Every town is going to have a fire truck, and every town is going to fix that fire truck. I don't care what the economy looks like. I don't care who's the president or what's going on in the world. They're going to take care of those trucks. It has its challenges. We can get into that. But I think my favorite thing that I gravitated towards was just how it feels to work on a fire truck. And Peter, we talked about this last night, but we all know we can make money working on RVs, but some of us don't like it. Why don't we like it? Well, it just doesn't feel that important some days. And what I've noticed with my technicians in my shop, if it doesn't get done till tomorrow, like they're not. What are they going to do? Lose out on one day at the beach, But when we're fixing that fire truck, that truck is necessary for the well-being of this town and my family, my friends,
So that's a really unique perspective. So you're saying that you actually can watch the way that working on different equipment motivates your employees. Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned this last night, and it's really a unique way of looking at things where it's actually, you're saying it's helped motivate your shop because they know there's a purpose to what they work on.
Correct.
So how does that change your culture? I mean, this is a shop that's been around for decades. Has that had an effect on the culture of the shop?
Yeah. I believe so. I believe many of us would admit our culture's never quite where we want it to be. But we have come a long way. There was definitely a time that I felt like I had some real old crotchety technicians, and I'm sure we've all worked around some of them. But as the culture's shifted over the years, some of them have worked their way out, and some of them have changed their mindset a little bit. And as we're bringing new technicians in, I think they're experiencing this new culture and helping us grow this new culture. And when I've got a 20-year-old technician out there under a truck with me at 11 o'clock at night because we just know it's important and we want to get it done. Like that's powerful to me. We've had an impact on somebody's life that he's even willing to go do that.
It was interesting to hear you talk about how you first got into fire. Somebody came and found you.
Yep.
My guess is that's not the entirety of the work you're doing on fire trucks.
Oh,
Can
no.
you talk a little bit about how, so now you decided you were going to service fire trucks. What'd you do to try to earn more and more of that business, and what's worked really well?
Yeah. So I will say right out the gate, the fire, EMS, police departments, it's a niche market in the sense that you're not going to post a Google ad and entertain them and get them to show up at your shop. Google ads and Facebook marketing, Dieselmatic is all part of what we do. But specifically for the EVT community, we just went to the couple places that we already had some connection with. Our city of Fredericksburg, the town that I grew up in, the local Army base. Those were the first three, and we just went and said, "Hey, we passed the test. We got the certification. Can we help you?" And they all showed up. I mean, it was that simple because, and I imagine there's a lot of market areas like this, but there's not a lot of shops that are trying to do that training. It's a big commitment. Very few customers are asking you for your certifications. They don't care. But the fire community, it's important because these trucks are critical machines. We want somebody that knows what they're doing to be working on them. So.
I think you just said something profound. You went to the customer and asked them if you could help them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a message that so many people don't really think that way. Like they never go to the community and ask, what can we do for you? Yeah. How can we help you? What do you need?
Yeah.
And I think that opens a lot of doors when you do that.
It sounds so simple, but I guess there is something profound there. Yeah.
Did you have a sales team doing that, or were you as the owner, were you doing that?
So I started out, we decided back in December, I believe, we wanted to hire an actual sales position. We call it our fleet management partner, which we may sound a little bougie, but I think it fits the bill very well. And we got lucky to hire somebody very quickly, and she's been a rock star in that role. She's been a shop owner before and just has previous knowledge how a shop works, how the financial works, how to talk to customers. So she's very naturally come into our company and helped out in that spot.
Now, that's a great background to have. That was going to be my follow-up question was what kind of background did you find worked really well? And I bet coming from the industry, it's not just someone who was a great salesperson and then you taught them the industry. I mean, she came with that real understanding of how fleets work and how they're serviced and how they like to engage with the shop.
Yes.
That's great. Also, maybe we can switch gears a little bit towards when we first chatted a couple of weeks ago. I loved how you talked about engaging with your employees and being transparent with, I'll just say generally the books, but the state of the business.
Yeah.
Every business owner thinks of it differently, and I don't say one is right or one is wrong, but can you talk a little bit about your approach, what kind of information you share across the organization and why?
Yeah. I think the foundation of what I believe there is pretty simple. I believe that if I was an employee, I would want to know if I was working for a successful company or if I was working for a company that was on the rocks or somewhere in between, and what I actually do to affect that. I believe that would empower me as an employee. So I took that to heart. We have monthly meetings. We'll bring all the employees in, and sometimes we have topics to discuss of process or of core values or different things like that. And sometimes we take that meeting and we just share the numbers. And I will share openly with anybody. I'll share with you guys. I don't care. I'm not ashamed. They're not what I want them to be all the time, but that doesn't mean that I need to hide them. And when we do make money, I don't feel like I have to hide that either. It's a good thing for everybody to know that. This is a good industry to be in. We should make some money. Don't be embarrassed about that. So I always ask my team, I say, I don't want you to take the P&L and discuss it with yourselves or your friends or whatever. I'd really like to be in the room when we have this discussion. So we start there and we share it, and I go through. I don't remember where I found it. I would reference the book or the person that I found this from, but it's a game. We basically take the P&L, break it down into percentages and categories. And I take $100 and I put each, let's say our labor cost was 12% and then our rent cost was 5% or whatever. And I take $12 and I put it in an envelope, take $5, put it in an envelope and label what they all are. And I pass them out all around the room and they get to open the envelopes and, and say how much money that costs. So the theory is if we just build a customer $100, this is where all the money goes.
So that's an interesting approach. So that's how you portrayed your finances to the employees. You gamified it.
Yeah, we did come up with a game to help them grasp it, because I think, unfortunately, what does an employee see sometimes? They see that they make $30, $40, $45 an hour, and we're billing the customer sometimes $180, $190 an hour for some of these services on specialty trucks. They don't understand where that money goes unless you help them understand it.
Right.
So that was the simplest way for us to break it down there.
I think you said something that's really interesting there too, and that's that you're not ashamed to make money. I think there's a lot of shop owners out there that are afraid to be public that they made money. Mm-hmm. And I always tell shop owners, nobody wants to work for a broke guy.
Right.
Nobody wants to work for a person if they're worried about whether they're going to get a paycheck tomorrow.
Right.
If the vendor's calling because they're cut off, they're not getting paid. So employees want to work for someone that's successful. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's something for them to look up to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think the shame in that is, what do you do with that money when you make it? Right.
Right.
If I'm going to drive a new pickup truck every year, I'm going to feel different about sharing those numbers with my employees. Right. But I try hard to be generous. I try to have fun employee events, fun engaging things. When we try to be generous with where that profit goes and help them understand it too. When there's a big investment in tools, I think they can understand where that money has to be generated and where it has to come from to make their lives better with column lifts or whatever the special tool may be.
Do you think that process of sharing the financials of the business, do you think that trickles down into their own personal lives? Like, do you think it's helping them at all understand their finances and their situation better?
All I can say to that is I hope so. Yeah.
Because you do see that sometimes. You see sometimes that really good employees become not so good employees because they go through life-changing events.
Yes.
So that's why I was kind of wondering that. Yeah.
Yes, I have seen that. I literally got the opportunity to go through like the Dave Ramsey book with one of my employees because we needed to hear it, So I hope some of that information is helping.
Reminds me of conversations I've had with some 18-year-old lube techs like, hey, you need to put into retirement.
Yeah.
And they don't understand compound interest. Like you literally have to explain what that is to them because they've never been educated on it.
Right.
When you think about sharing that level of information, getting everybody on the same page, understanding how to make the business successful, can you talk a little bit about your approach to rewarding employees? Do you have a bonus program? If so, can you talk a little bit about the structure of that and how they think about it?
Yep. So we try to keep the bonus program, I'm going to say, simpler than we used to. I think that's the first component. Keep it simple. If they can't understand it, there's no way it's going to motivate them. And even as simple as it is, sometimes I feel like they don't fully grasp it every day. But we give everybody a base rate of pay, guaranteed their 40 hours at a base rate. And every hour they bill, they get a significant pay bump on top of that. Some of them it's 10%, some of them as much as 30% of their pay. So it's an incentive for them to move faster, work harder, and understand what it actually takes to build the tickets. And I know it's working when the technician is coming to the service advisor and saying, why didn't they pick up that truck? Why isn't the invoice closed? Why are my hours counted? That's when I know it's working, when they want to follow it all the way through. Yeah. And then similar for the advisors. Advisors are commission-based with us. They get they have to hit their GP targets, and they can get as much as 5.25% of their sales, which can make an advisor a lot of money if they focus and stay in tune with their customers. And
Sure. Those are great. It sounds like you might have evolved to that model. Did you have any
Yes.
other bonus programs that you look back on and say, God, what was I thinking that didn't work?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of bonus structure in place when I took over. We had some basic efficiency bonuses. I think if the technician hit certain efficiency, they just got a flat $200 at the end of the month or something like that. We said we want to advance this. So we went to a full blown like flat rate hybrid program, and it was super cumbersome to administer. Like I was actually doing payroll at the time, and it would take me 3 or 4 hours to formulate payroll. Wow. Even with full-based systems, I had to go in every ticket and allocate the hours and pay the technician based on how much of the job we thought was complete versus how, and that just became too cumbersome. So we had to simplify it.
So that's a really good takeaway. And I've seen this many, many times where I'll go into a shop and they have this really complicated, cumbersome pay scale. And the one thing I always remind shop owners of is, look, when you hire an employee, you're not just hiring the employee, you're hiring their family.
Yeah.
So if that technician's wife doesn't know what the paycheck's going to be because it's so complicated that nobody understands it, you have a problem.
Yeah.
And plus that, I mean, who wants to spend 4 hours a week doing payroll?
That was miserable. Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome. Another thing that you talked a little bit about was your journey in implementing and using the EOS system. Can you talk a little bit about what you've done there, some of the successes, some of the challenges in implementing that?
Yeah. So I'll admit to the crowd up front on that. It's a journey, and we are not as far into that journey as I would like to be. But the EOS mentality and the EOS theory behind running a business is very solid. We've implemented at our shop what they call the level 10 meeting. So we meet every week, and it's a very structured, very organized meeting. It helps us stay on topic, helps us solve problems. We do the quarterly meetings where we'll get the core leadership team in a room for a day and discuss what we're going to do for the next 90 days. And every year that one of those becomes an annual meeting. So we're really forecasting some more vision, some more ideas about growth, that sort of thing. And the issues list, the rocks, all that terminology has caught on in the shop. It helps us in the way we think, the way we talk about things, the way we solve problems, who's taking ownership of those things. But there's more we need to do. I know that I want to spend some more time with the People Analyzer and some of the other tools that EOS has to offer. So I encourage anybody that's read the book, heard the talk, just get started somewhere. And I would say get started with the weekly meeting. That's for us, that was the best place to start. And do it consistently. I don't care who's on vacation. I don't care if you got to change the time. Don't skip it. Just do it.
Yeah, I think that's the key to success. And I think that's one of the greatest takeaways of EOS is it teaches you to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that it really starts to build a culture in the organization that no one person is more important than the goal. In other words, if the meeting is going to start, like I used to tell my staff, you start the meeting without me.
That's right.
If I'm not there, you have the meeting.
That's right.
And somebody just take the reins, take ownership of it and run the meeting. And it was amazing how people started to take ownership of everything, because in those meetings, you commit to something, and you dish out, I own this, you own that. And then people just get things done. It's amazing. And I think a lot of shop owners, what we found with EOS is that they all underestimate how much they can get done in a year, and they overestimate what they can get done in a week.
Right.
And it does a really good job of really systemizing it out and saying, we're only going to tackle this one thing because it's the most important thing.
Yep.
And we're going to not worry about the rest of the stuff today.
Yep.
And you really start to chip away at that bigger goal faster when you break it down into small pieces.
Absolutely agree.
I always, as we're talking about employees and engaging them, we ask it in every roundtable, start at the beginning of the employee's journey. Where are you finding techs these days? Have you seen anything change over the past couple of years? I'm sure, as you mentioned before, you can never find enough of them. But talk a little bit about your hiring approach.
Yeah. I think our hiring approach is morphing, I believe. I think we've taken more of a shotgun approach in the past, and some days we're not thrilled how it's working out. We've made a lot of hires. Not all of them have worked. Not all of them have stuck. Anybody can attest to that. But the shotgun approach was just, any job board, anywhere, any interview we could get, anybody we could set up. Anybody that wants to come talk to us, come in. And at Diesel Connect this year, there was a guy who came from Absolute Jobs. I don't know if you guys remember him, but I got to meet him and talk to him, and we've signed up with Absolute Jobs to help us out with recruiting to see if that's going to make a difference for us. They have a much more rifled approach in how they do it. They're a full-time recruiting company, and I think I was struggling with it because there is an expense there. It's not cheap. Yeah. It's not cheap. But the shotgun approach wasn't cheap either. $500 a week on Indeed was also not cheap. Where was I going with that? Their rifled approach. They're not bringing us a bunch of burger flippers. They're not bringing us a bunch of resumes that don't make sense. Week one, they're bringing us some resumes and some interviews that really look like they're going to fit.
So how do you chip away at that? When you get 10 applications and they all seem qualified, how do you chip away at that? What tools are you using to kind of really dial in on that person you think is going to last?
Great question. First and foremost, do they show up to the interview? Do they just follow the basic steps to schedule something and show up? I think we can all attest to that. You got to cover all the basics. It's amazing and frustrating how many you weed out these days. Driver's license, drug tests, simple stuff. Past that, we use the Working Genius personality assessment. That's through the Table Group. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Doesn't matter. It's called the Working Genius. It's been a great assessment for our team. It kind of gives you an overview of how an employee likes to work, what their zone is. Do they like to come up with ideas? Do they like to solve problems? Or do they just have the tenacity to get the task done no matter what it is?
So you're looking at that's more of like a behavioral assessment that you're using. Okay.
And how it fits within the team.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It creates a team map and kind of shows where all the people
So have you done that? Have you established, have you kind of looked at it? You've imagined you've done this long enough, you've gathered some data and really built a vision or a picture, if you will, of what a good technician is. Have you been able to do that yet with that information you're getting?
We've had that for a couple years, so I could definitely attest to certain personality traits on that specific test. I don't think we have to share all the details here, but yes, we've honed in on certain combinations of personality that really fit our culture and really fit our team, and certain ones that we thought were going to fit and didn't. And there is trend lines there.
I think
some consistency there. Yeah.
That's an important message that you're looking to find technicians that fit your team and your culture. So are you asking your team? Do they interview the applicants at all? Do you involve any of the other techs or the other staff members when you're hiring?
Sure, absolutely. We always have at least 2 or 3 people in an interview process, whether it's the shop foreman or lead tech, or if it's if we're hiring for the advisor position, I'll definitely sit in on that, or office manager. Somebody's going to sit in on that. We definitely want that input and that feedback from multiple people. Yep.
How do you think about hiring for technical skill? Do you hire all across the spectrum where you'll take a green new guy and say, I'm going to train him up? Will you do it all, or do you favor one versus the other?
Oh, absolutely. We've hired from the whole range of technical skills. And some of our, where should I start with that? Sometimes it works out great on the low end, on the new end, hey, you have no experience, but I see you want to work. Let's try. And sometimes that works out really, really great. And sometimes you find out pretty quick that they don't like the pressure of the industry, and that's okay. At least they got to try it. And have those honest conversations, on the other end too, hiring somebody that's been in it for 20, 30 years. Like they might have some really bad habits, or they might not love the way that we do things, or the process of full bay is new to them, and they're just not used to all that kind of stuff, and it's hard to fix those habits. So no matter which end of the spectrum you're on, you can find really great employees that are brand new to the industry. You can find really great employees that have been in it for decades. But it's not a sure way either way.
Yeah. Do you have any relationships with trade schools or trade programs anywhere that you're plucking like really young people out who have already decided to get some education on their own?
We have not had a lot of success. Maybe it's because I struggle with consistency and focus on some of these things. We tried to partner with one of the local auto tech programs for a while, and it really felt like the major players were there fast, and they were scooping these guys up. I'm talking Firestone, NTB, just some of the big players, and it was like, man, I don't know if I can get in there faster than these guys, or with a better recruiting strategy than these guys on the career day. So I kind of backed away from that. I said, well, maybe we need to get involved at the high school level. Maybe we need to get to these kids even sooner. And really just didn't have the bandwidth to do it well and to do it. So that hasn't been a huge focus for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good that you've identified that. I think a lot of fleets, and this is my personal opinion because I did run a training program for a while, that a lot of technicians are better off going to a fleet first. It's hard for a smaller operator to absorb that.
Yeah.
It's harder to absorb the manpower and the time it takes to take a kid out of high school. Yeah. And I've done it. I mean, I've put 5 years into a guy and made him a master tech.
Yeah.
But it's hard and it's an investment. Yeah. So how do you keep from getting discouraged? I know I hear this a lot from shop owners that, they put a year or two into a tech, it didn't work out, they left. Like, how do you stay positive when that happens?
It's not always positivity. You can ask my wife, you can ask my team. It doesn't always feel positive. I've been in situations before where somebody pretty new to the industry came in, worked for us for 6 to 9 months, and somebody down the street is going to give them a job offer at like $40 an hour. It's like, you're not there yet. I'm not trying to be mean. Go try it, whatever, you're not there yet. And it's very discouraging to see that happen. Me personally, I mean, being a business owner can be discouraging any day of the week. I think it's just faith that carries me through to start with. Like, God's blessed me with this and he's given me the ability to do this. So I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing. Sometimes you can, I could start listing names of the discouraging situations where we've lost employees or things didn't work out, but the success stories are really encouraging, and I have to focus on those. Yeah.
I think that helps too with shop owners. If they look at what they do as a purpose, like, I've been given these talents, I have the ability to do it. Yeah. I should be almost obligated to do it sometimes because we can. Yeah. And there are a lot of success stories. Yeah. And I think a lot of shop owners need to focus on that. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be an attrition rate in this industry. Yeah. I just had a shop owner earlier this week that told me, I'm losing my best tech. Mm-hmm. He's done working on trucks. He's going to go work on forklifts. And I'm like, I know it's tough. Yeah. But sometimes people move on. It's like a bus route. Some people get on the bus, some people get off the bus. It's just a natural progression of life.
Right. Just got to try to keep enough people on the bus. Yep.
So I always go back to a question we ask frequently in these, and think about setting your bill rates. How often are you looking at your rates, and how much do you consider the competitive environment around you versus your cost structure? Can you talk a little bit about how you think about your bill rates and updating them from time to time?
Yeah. Transparently honest, I don't go back and reconsider it often enough. I think it's something that should be done, quarterly or at least twice a year, and we probably only get around to it once a year. To answer the second part of the question, how do we analyze that? We absolutely do some cold calling around. What are some other independent shops doing? What are the dealerships doing? And honestly, I want to put myself somewhere in between. I don't want to be as cheap as all the other independents, and I don't want to overprice what the dealerships are doing. I think we need to live in the middle zone there somewhere. We definitely consider the cost structure of the business when we start breaking down the labor rates. So we kind of get the competitive market to set the door rate. But we have different labor rates for all different things now. There's different labor rate for doing a PM than it is for doing a brake job, than it is for changing tires, than it is for working on fire trucks and RVs. So we have rates from $100 an hour to $189 an hour, $195 an hour. So, I mean, we have a wide variety of rates for what we're doing. And that can be a challenge for the team sometimes to know what rate to quote and where. Full Bay's helped with that, because you can set that properly for different labor ops and different customers, and help everybody navigate that. So yeah, it's constantly changing, and I wish I need to probably just put it on my calendar and say, hey, once a quarter, let's spend an hour, 2 hours going through this.
Might be a good thing to do in your quarterly EOS meeting.
That's right. Exactly.
How do you deal with customers that don't understand different labor rates? Like, how do you approach that? I mean, how have the customers taken different labor rates? I'm assuming something like a check engine light is going to have a different labor rate than doing brakes.
Right. Absolutely. It's different in every scenario. Sometimes you're dealing with the third-party fleet companies, and they have to know your labor rate and how many hours, and maybe they'll try to negotiate different things. But when you're dealing with the customer, say face to face, this is broke. Can you fix it? Yes, and this is how much it costs to fix. This is the amount, and I don't think he should be concerned about the total breakdown. How much does the part cost? How many hours did it take? What's the labor rate? This is the cost of the service, and we try to sell it that way. And you find out real quick if the customer wants to dive deep into the nitty-gritty details. It may be a more challenging conversation. But a lot of time, 9 times out of 10, you say, hey, I need a water pump. My truck's broke. This is going to be $1,200. We can have it done tomorrow. They don't.
So are you a fan of putting the breakdown on the invoice and the estimate, or are you just showing them, one item for labor, this is your cost, or are you breaking it down on the invoice?
No, our labor rate's not showing on the invoice.
So you don't believe in breaking it down.
Right.
And what's your philosophy on that? Like, why do you feel that's better that way?
I don't think they need to question it. I think it's the value of the service that we're providing. I think it's a fair value. And if a customer asks what the labor rate is, we always tell them. We're not trying to hide it. And then we might get into that conversation. Well, it's different for this service than it is for this service, and it is for this service. And we can get into all the reasons behind that. My alignment machine costs $75,000, right, and the diagnostic equipment I have is $10,000 for every one you see on the table over there. Right.
And I've never seen a shop that pays the lube tech that changes oil the same as the guy who does check engine lights.
Right.
Those people cost more.
Yeah, it's drastically different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you think about what employees cost, I mean, we just talked about evaluating labor rates. How about pay rates? I mean, how do you think about staying ahead of the guy coming to poach your technicians, but not dramatically overpaying? Yeah. Any thoughts on just pay strategies?
I think a huge part of that for me personally is that bonus structure. I can have a young kid in my shop making $25 an hour. And if he's getting $8 extra for every hour that he bills, he's motivated to do something, and he knows that if he's willing to work hard, he can make a pretty good pay here for 20 years old. And yeah, somebody might try to steal him. And I guess I've lost that fear. If he's willing to work hard and bill the hours, he can earn the money. If he wants to go work somewhere else that's maybe a little more slower pace, and let's not use the word lazy, but yeah, a little more slower pace, and maybe that's his zone in life. And yeah.
How did you get to that point where you drop the fear? Like, I love to hear that when people say they don't, it's not that they don't care. It's just they're not afraid. Yeah. Like, how did you do that? Because that's not natural for someone.
No, it's not natural. Well, the easiest thing to say is I got tired. I get tired of being afraid real fast, so I'll just get over it. Growing up on a farm, that's a huge part of it. There was you learn how to make it work with what you got, and some days it rains, some days it pours, some days you're stuck in the field, some days the field catches on fire, but you just figure it out with what you got. And I think those experiences help me to not be afraid, because I know that I can solve the problem with what I'm given to the best of my ability and keep things moving.
I think fear sometimes, when you see fear coming from people, even employees, that you're almost hitting a pain point.
Yeah.
That they have fear usually because they don't know something.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've done this long enough and you know that you're offering a good environment for employees and that you're giving a fair pay.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for you to be fearful that they're going to leave.
Right.
Sometimes, honestly, some of the best employees I've ever had did leave. And when they came back, they were the best employees I ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things sometimes getting over the fear of it is, as you go through it, and you might be scared the first time. You go through it and you see afterwards, it was okay. We got through it, and then you're less fearful the next time.
Exactly.
The next time and the next time. So
yeah.
As I'd gone through some of the questions, I missed one that we had just got towards the beginning. This is about when you mentioned earlier the name change. So the question was, you mentioned changing the company's name. Was that a difficult transition? I know when we changed our logo, it threw people off for a while. We did it slowly, which I think helped. Most people don't like change. Well, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but how big of an issue was this for you?
I completely agree. It is not all easy. And it was a slow transition. I think I saw it coming for many years. Like I said, it was 5 years ago when we changed the logo. Just kind of dropped the equipment off the logo. Added a little tagline to the logo, but it was still similar enough that it didn't throw anybody off. Actually changing the name can get a little bit, when you actually get to the point where you're going to change it on everything, you're going to change your domain name, you're going to change your email address. Naturally, that comes with some technical confusion. Hey, did so-and-so get this email? Did it go to the wrong email? Is it forwarding from the old email? All those types of things you have to consider. So you have to get to a point where the business needs to change and grow. You don't want to be doing this every 6 months on a new whim or a new niche market or whatever. But as the business environment significantly changes and grows, don't be afraid to change it, and consult with whoever you're working with. Dieselmatic was a huge help in that process. I don't understand the inner workings of SEO marketing. I'm not going to try to learn it. But that's part of it too. Google has learned our name. Google has learned what they're supposed to do with that and where they're supposed to direct people. And if you just change it, Google's going to lose you. I think, I don't know, something like that. So they had to do some stuff on their end, and it wasn't an overnight transition for the website either. But it was worth it.
I think that's a good point you brought up, that you reached out to experts to help you.
Yep.
And I think so many store owners have this I have to do it mentality. And like with the SEO and the marketing, it's like, if it's not your genius, don't do it.
That's right.
It's kind of like I tell people about being a bank. If you're not a bank, don't be a bank. Stop carrying all this, receivables. But that's a good point to bring up, that you reached out.
And to that point, that's one of the points I was going to make about recruiting that I missed earlier. I finally got to the point in my mind that I needed somebody in-house that could focus way more energy, maybe full-time energy, on recruiting. And that's crazy because we only have 15, 16 employees. or I needed to outsource this because we weren't doing it well. We had the shotgun approach, and we weren't loving the results. So that's why we signed up to work with an actual recruiting agency, and we've got high hopes for that.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, what might be next for Liberty? And any goals for you for the next 3 to 5 years? Is it any new lines of business? Is it continued growth, or are you happy where you are and just maintain a profitable business?
Yeah. So we have made investments for growth. I have a pretty excellent management team, and I think if a consultant or another business owner came into my business right now and looked at my numbers, they'd say, you got too much overhead. And that's true, but I did that because I believe we can grow. I had the opportunity to hire some and to bring some good management level into my team. The other part of that is I want to create systems within our business that are good enough to multiply, and have the potential to go to 10, 12 shops. Let's go do it. But I think it's more important to have the system in place than it is to just own 10 or 12 shops, because that would be totally chaotic because I can't be at all of them. So yeah, over the next few years, grow what we have, organize what we have the capacity to expand. And I think a big part of that is the EVT vehicles. That's definitely one that we're leaning very heavy into, and maybe I can see it in my head. I can see a whole separate shop that is the EVT shop.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you might specialize and diversify a little bit out into different specialties.
Yep. I think one of the ways we can help is segregating some of the different aspects of the business. And I could see having a whole separate shop operation that is for the EVT vehicles. Yeah.
One piece of advice that I always give to shop owners and anybody, it doesn't matter what industry it is, that if you're thinking you want a second location, when that day you think that that's ready, the first thing you need to do is leave.
Yep.
Go on vacation.
Yep.
If it can survive without you,
Yep.
it's ready.
Yep.
If it can't survive without you, it's not ready.
I've been trying it a little bit this summer. I haven't been there a whole lot. My team's laughing on the recording right now, I'm sure. Yeah.
But it's true. It's a great way to know that the business is solid enough for you to be able to spend more time focused on the new location, and the current location still going to operate, run just as effectively as it was when you were there on a day-to-day basis. So.
And it proves your system. It proves that system you've built works because you get the desired result, which is that it operates autonomously.
Exactly. Yep.
So as usual, you kind of look up, it's like, holy smokes, we're almost through with our hour. So any final questions, Peter, that we want to get through?
No, I just wanted to thank him, Bobby, for coming and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope something I said was useful for all those who are watching. Hope I didn't waste an hour of their time.
No, absolutely did not. So no, we appreciate you coming and spending time with us. And I know everybody who watched live and who will watch the recordings appreciates it as well. So thank you. Cool. We'll wrap up. I think I have one, maybe two slides, and we'll wrap up and let everybody get back to their Tuesday. So I think most folks who watch are full bay customers, but for anybody who's not, we'd love to show you, what we've got in terms of shop management solutions for you. So please let us know if we can get you any more information. And then excited, and I think the most important announcement here is we are going to be doing Diesel Connect again next year. So we've got the dates locked in. You can see them there on the screen. Same week, generally as we did it this year, and we're going to do it in Phoenix again. But we've now committed. We're going to do this as an annual thing. So I love the hat that you've got the Diesel Connect hat on from this year. That was a great piece of swag that we were able to do this year. So we're going to do that again. Ticket sales will launch, I think, sometime over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So please check it out at the website there, dieselconnectshow.com. So I think you guys will both be there with us, I'm sure, again this year. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody else that's able to make it. So with that, we'll wrap up. Thanks again, Bobby, Peter. Appreciate the time. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys again next quarter. And we'll do another Shop Owner Roundtable.